Hello and welcome to another episode of Balls and Brew, the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan Podcast Network. I am your host, Rod Morgan. This and every other podcast on the Morgan Podcast Network is produced by James Jamriska. Joining me, my co-host, my guy in West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground is where he spent most of his days. Now he's in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's Chris King. Chris, hello.
Hello, Internet. Hey, Rod. How's it going?
Wonderful. We are getting ready for Week 10. The Colts beat the Jets. Yay. Woo. Let's move on. Mr. Williams, you were 2-1 last week, but you are now forever banned from talking about the San Francisco 49ers on this podcast, so I assume you're a little bit downtrodden. Am I right in that?
Man, went 2-1 last week, also hit the outright upset pick of the week, and somehow it still feels like I got kicked in the onions because I can't talk about Shanahan and those Niners anymore. So maybe I'll do better now that there's only 31 teams in the league for me to digest instead of 32. So we'll see.
All right, well, I, being your great podcast host that I am, listen to me break my arm, patting myself on the back, I assumed you'd be a little bit downtrodden. You still have a below 500 record for the season at 13-14. So in an attempt to change up the mojo, I have brought in a special guest, Mr. Williams, a person you have known quite a long time, someone that knows you very well, someone that is from your same neck of the woods, and they are joining us now to give you a pep talk so that we can have a great Week 10. Special guest, identify yourself.
I am Corey Nance. I am a friend of Josh Williams, and I'm here to snap him out of his streak of bad luck.
Now, is there any particular thing that you can rely on all your years of knowledge with Mr. Williams that you could think, oh, I remember back in 5th grade when we had lost the 4th straight kickball game. This is really what Williams needs to turn his luck around. Do we have any kind of special knowledge here?
Well, as children, Josh always picked on the weaker kids, so he's used to winning, and we need to get him back to those ways.
All right, Josh, are you excited to have your good friend Corey Nance here to try to help you along and improve and get back over Mount 500?
Yes. Nothing could be further from the truth. I always like the little guys. So let's go, underdogs. Let's go. Let's get back on track here.
All right, well, I'm going to have Corey stick around with us. Corey, if you think Josh is leading in a bad path or he's saying anything that you know to be different or not true, let us know anytime during the podcast, and we'll have you make a couple of guest picks here, and anything you got along the way, you let us know. What do you think, Corey?
Sounds great. I'm going to get him on the path. Now that you've blocked the San Francisco bets, that hopefully he'll get off the bad streak here and get plus 500.
All right, that's what we're hoping for. So we got 3 games coming from Mr. Williams. We got 3 props coming from Chris. Mr. Williams, I'm not even sure we're going to have you pick props at this point. Your record on props is 7-10, and you're all into this new upset special. But, I mean, if you got a couple of props, maybe we'll get those dotted in along the way. But, I mean, Chris, you're 11-11. You know I have this huge rule about being 500. Am I now required to make you do more props? What should we do here?
Well, I mean, I'm doing an odd number. It just so happened I went 0-3 last week after a couple good weeks, and I'm going to turn that around this week. Don't you worry.
All right, we'll still let you just pick in 3 props. That's fine. So if you got any of your props that come up with the games as we go along. But let's start the way that we always start with our biggest takeaway from last week. Let's start with our NFL handicapper, our guy who's always crunching the numbers, watching the trends. Josh, Week 9 said what to you?
Man, crazy underdog week. They came out barking, man. Jacksonville upsets Buffalo. No touchdown scored in that game. Bet Rivers put up a line of 225-1 on no touchdowns being scored in that Bills-Jags game. I still don't know. I still can't confirm if anybody actually took that bet, but whew, what a line that was. We had the Broncos over the Cowboys. Nobody saw that coming. We had the Giants over Vegas. And, yes, we had Zona over that team out there in Santa Clara. So it's been crazy. And one more unbelievable stat here. From 1996 to 2017, no dogs of 16 points or more won a game straight up. Now it's happened 4 years in a row. And more specifically, 8 straight dogs have covered on Sunday Night Football. That might be a prelude to my upset pick of the week.
Look at you, teasing future content, my friend. You have come a long way in this podcasting game. Mr. King, he brought up your team there. I mean, need we go back to Cooper Rush? I mean, I joked about it, but I mean, is that where we need to go? Your Cowboys lost.
Yeah, no, and listen, they did not show up for that game. It's very hard for me to find a silver lining in that game. I did find one. It was a sliver, and that was, of course, Micah Parsons, who continued to play out of his mind. He got 2.5 sacks. Definitely front runner for Defensive Rookie of the Year and working his way into Defensive Player of the Year.
Look at this. He just spins it. He just completely spins the question thrown his way about the Cowboys getting beat into talking up his defensive players.
Right.
Corey, how about you? What was the thing you thought that was jumped off the page at you about NFL Sunday last week?
It was definitely the underdogs. I mean, for that many of them, it's an unusual event to happen, and it really some of them lower scoring games really affected fantasy. So I pulled out a high score this week, which is always a surprise.
Yeah. No, I wondered if you were going to bring that up because the person that you happened to beat in fantasy football was your intrepid host here. And I happen to put up even a terrible week this week. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better for me as we round right into fantasy playoffs. So that's incredibly exciting. And the Indianapolis Colts, I guess, played a football game last week. If you want to count the Jets onto their third string quarterback a football game, I mean, I continue to have these positive, take everybody to Dairy Queen Colt fans in my life tell me to stick around. I'm talking to you, Josh Williams, because there's still an outside chance this team can make the playoffs. And I just think that that's just garbage. There's no essential reason that the Colts need to be anywhere near the playoffs. They're not near as good as any of these other teams in the AFC. I'll admit that there's no strong number one contender that I'm going to walk right into the Super Bowl right now, that a lot of different teams have a shot. Colts aren't one of them. And let's not give up a first-round pick for Carson Wentz. That's something that's going to come up, I believe, Mr. Williams. And I think why not just set Carson Wentz and make it 100% certain you're not giving up a first-round pick for this guy.
I think you're going to be disappointed, man. It's not just me. There are a lot of sharps that like this Colts team. They got the offensive line going. Jonathan Taylor's in the rushing title now that Derrick Henry's out for the year. And look, we've seen it. Like you said, there's no clear favorite in the AFC. And what the Colts have as an advantage is they love to run the ball. Guess what? The Bills, Chargers, Raiders, they all stink against the run. So it's not inconceivable that the Colts can go on the road and win a playoff game. And when you win a playoff game,
it's inconceivable. Yeah, it's absolutely
anything could happen in the AFC.
No, absolutely not. There's no way. Carson Wentz is not going to be able to make good enough decisions. Frank Reich is going to make crazy boneheaded decisions. Chris, come on. I know I have a tendency to break a little bad here on my favorite teams, but AFC contender Colts, that's ridiculous.
Listen, I'm starting to come to your side of thinking, Rod. You have 4 teams in the AFC West that all have a winning record. You have 4 teams in the AFC North that all have a winning record. How many of these teams, so you have 10 teams essentially, nope, 11 teams with better record than the Colts right now. That's a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. Corey, there's just the fundamental idea of tanking. What do you think? Would you be mad at your favorite team if they had to basically just sit a guy who clearly is the best player in their position to assume that they don't win enough games so they don't have to give up a good draft pick?
Well, as a Bears fan, I'm actually for sitting your stars when your team doesn't look good. Anyways, but tanking in the NFL, it doesn't seem to help as much as the NBA to me. So it seems like you still have to give it your best shot and try to do as best as you can in the NFL, because the whole tanking thing makes you end up at Miami and irrelevant for 20 years.
Boy, isn't that the truth. We were all high on Miami last year and a little bit coming into this year, and they have just absolutely done nothing. Mr. Williams, you're our coach whisperer around here. You're always looking at the coach trends. You talk up Frank Reich a little bit to me. Do you see Frank Reich as a guy who would want to tank?
No, I don't think so.
And I guess, of course, he doesn't want to tank, but do you think he's the kind of guy that's so obstinate about it that he would really put his foot down and say, no, I'm not doing this? Because I think we all think Chris Ballard is just smart enough to maybe understand at that razor-thin edge, it's better for the Colts to not have to give up a first-round pick than it is to just keep playing Carson. I got to feel that with a little bit of truth serum in him, Mr. Ballard feels that way.
I mean, I don't know. I still think that if there's a chance to make the playoffs, I know there's a lot of teams in front of them, but they're right there. They're like a game out. And they have a really good offensive line. You can say what you want about the Colts, but really, really good offensive line. And I think they're going to be in games. Chris has even said this, that they haven't been blown out, at all. They've been in games. So anything can happen in the AFC. I think they have a good coach. I mean, good running back, good solid defense against the run. So we'll see where it goes.
Listen, you and Corey are allowed to be Colts fans anytime you guys want, all right? You guys reside in the Hoosier State as is. I mean, you guys see this team from afar. You love all of these shiny, gleaming parts like infrastructure, good head coach, you know what I mean? A little bit of talent. I mean, you guys are welcome to be Colts fans anytime you want.
Well, heck, Williams is their number one cheerleader right now.
Williams, I mean, your Bear fans right there. That's a fellow Bear fan, talking about your glowing respect for the Indianapolis Colts. Do you care to defend yourself anymore, or should we just move on?
The Colts are usually undervalued in the market because they're not a flashy team, and that's probably why I like them. So, I mean, I'll be Bears true and true, but the Bears got to turn it around sooner or later. We can't take much more of this as Bears fans.
I keep continuing to think no head coach is going to get fired before the year's out, but there's still, in my book, a good chance that it might come out of the NFC North. Either our guy Zimmer or maybe Nagy are just gonna maybe Nagy's gonna be shown the door. Maybe Zimmer just decides to walk out that door on his own if the Vikings keep playing as bad as we've seen in other weeks. But with that said, we mentioned Mr. Williams was doing bad. We got Corey Nance here as the good luck totem. Let's get started out on a good foot. Mr. Williams, let's go to a game that involves a true AFC contender, even if they are missing Derrick Henry.
Yeah, we've hit the first half under 2 times in a row. Let's do it again. Let's go Saints-Titans under 22 in the first half. You can find that minus 110 on DK. We've seen a run-heavy approach from the Saints lately. Last week they had 14 rushing attempts and 11 passes in the first half. And the Titans went out and signed AP. They clearly want to establish the run. The Saints are number 1 in defensive rush efficiency. And then let's look at pace in this game. Saints are bottom 5 in the NFL in pace. The Titans are bottom 1/3 in the league. The Saints definitely don't want to get into a shootout with anybody now that Jameis is out. The Titans have defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, and we've said this for like a couple years now where the Titans couldn't get any pressure on anybody. Well, now this Jeffrey Simmons cat is finally healthy, and there's only 2 interior defensive linemen that have 40 pressures this year. One is Aaron Donald at 41. The other is Jeffrey Simmons. He actually has more than Aaron Donald at 42. And so the last 3 weeks, the Titans' pass DVOA has moved from 27th all the way up to 8th. They're getting their cover corner stud Farley back this week. And that's after facing the Chiefs, Colts, and Rams. So, yeah, they've been playing at an extremely high level lately. I think both these teams kind of muck it up, and I like the under here, under 22 in the first half, Saints and Titans.
Under 22 in the first half, Saints and Titans. So basically you're saying that this is going to be just an offensive powerhouse of a game, and it's going to be way entertaining to watch, huh?
Oh, yeah, a lot of fireworks, a lot of duds.
All right, I have a little bit more on this game, but we're going to talk about that later. Chris, you got any props coming out of this one?
No, but I will say I do like that prop, Williams. I think that's a smart bet.
Corey, you got any great Trevor Siemian knowledge for us here? The guy who's getting the start for the Saints this weekend. You go way back with him to his Northwestern days, I'm sure.
I'm rooting for Trevor Siemian as he is getting the start not only in the real NFL but also in fantasy this week.
Nice, there we go. All right, looking for a little fantasy Hail Mary pass out of Trevor Siemian. I like that. Let's move on to another team that is playing. I have a feeling, Williams, your new darling team, now that you are forbidden from talking about that team that plays in Levi Stadium. But the Cleveland Browns loaded up with some fantasy studs usually, but COVID has a couple of them not playing. Let's go to that game.
That's true. And before anybody gives Nance grief about starting Trevor Siemian in fantasy, we're in a super flex league together, so you kind of have to start 2 quarterbacks. Just in case anybody was wondering about Nance's football chops, starting Trevor Siemian.
I started Geno Smith 2 weeks because we play in a similar super flex league, all right? So I certainly wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, anybody out there, man, super flex is the way to go. A lot of fun out there trying to pick up quarterbacks. But yeah, in this game, I'm going to go let's go with another under here. Cleveland and New England under 45.5. You find that on DK minus.
I like this, by the way. We bring in a new good luck totem, and you're banging a lot of unders here. I like this. You're clearly strategizing to try to get back on top of Mount 500, Williams. I appreciate that out of you.
Man, and there is some. There is a lot of stats here. The Pats are 17th in situation neutral pace. The Browns are 29th. Both these teams like to play slow. Both these teams are top 10 in rush rate. And under Stefanski, there's been 6 games without Chubb in the lineup. Doesn't look like he's going to play this week. In those games, the Browns have only averaged 18.8 points per game. 4 of the 6 games, Cleveland scored 17 or less. And 4 of the 6 games, they've rushed for only 3.8 yards per carry or less. Cleveland uses 11 personnel the most. The Pats D has been great versus this formation, only an 84 passer rating allowed. J.C. Jackson will probably be on Landry. He's only allowed a 54% targets to be completed and a 49 passer rating when targeted. So if you're Cleveland, like, who do you go to here? Stefanski also likes to operate out of 2 tight end sets. The Pats have allowed a 61 passer rating from that formation. When the Browns go heavy, look for Belichick to blitz the boot side, which could cause problems for Baker. The Pats have allowed the least amount of catches and yards to tight ends in the league. They're the best by a wide margin defending the tight end. And the Pats are allowing, in their last 3 games, only allowing 13.7 points per game. And then on the other side, the Browns are generating the second best pressure rate and the number 3 adjusted sack rate in the league. Cleveland doesn't blitz that much either, mostly because they don't have to. The Browns have a ton of secondary depth that should match up well versus this underwhelming Pats wide receiver core. And Cleveland also 5th DVOA versus the rush. The Browns D is getting healthy now. They've held 3 straight opponents under 20 points. Give me this under 45.5. This game shapes up as a total slugfest here. So, I like the under 45.5.
Man, you are really looking forward to some ugly football this Sunday. Chris, let me ask you this. Who's the better quarterback in this game? Baker with a clipped wing or the rookie Mac Jones?
Baker. Still Baker.
Wow. I don't know.
He's a playmaker. He succeeds when you don't think he will. Like, he goes out there and competes. I'd still take Baker with a clipped wing over Jones.
All right. I might lean the other way. Corey, I'm going to ask you the same question. Who you got in this game? Who's the better quarterback? Baker with his clipped wing or Mac Jones, the rookie?
In the matchup this week is probably Baker, but as far as career-wise, I think Mac Jones is going to have a better career than Baker Mayfield. And if
I tend to agree with you.
Browns can treat Mac Jones like they did Justin Fields and the Bears, I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for the Browns.
Yeah, that Browns defense is absolutely legitimate. Williams, you told us an awful lot about them at the beginning of the year. They might be just rounding into form. And I'm a big Bill Simmons guy, as anybody who listens to this podcast knows. And he's a big Ewing theory. He kind of coined the term. And maybe there's something to be said for that. Cleveland seems to be awfully excited to get Odell Beckham Jr. out of Cleveland. And at the same time, the Los Angeles Rams seem incredibly excited to get Odell Beckham Jr. It's amazing how the guy that Cleveland didn't need and really, really is bad and did a whole take cycle for a week about how it's just so sad this guy isn't anything anymore, signs with the Rams, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this super team. Can you believe it? I mean, kind of ridiculous behavior out of ESPN here, no, Williams?
Yeah, I mean, they spend way too much time on Odell. Like, maybe he helps with the Rams, but it's just, these guys got like 250 yards this year. So he really hasn't been relevant since the Love Boat cruise. So, I mean, I don't get the 2.5 hours spent on where he's going on these hot take ESPN shows.
You might get more out of Captain Steubing right now than you get out of Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know there. It's a little Love Boat joke for those of you out there that remember the Love Boat.
Us oldies like it.
That's right. That's right. You appeared you did work as a grip on Love Boat, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, I was doing an internship at the time, and that's what I was working on, and I had to do a lot of labor. Funny fact is, if you can get a hold of the deleted scenes, you're going to see some horrible stuff. Let me just put it that way.
Hey, man, you were on a cruise, right? International waters. We've all seen that episode of The Simpsons. Let's get back on track here, though. Do you have any props coming out of this game, perhaps? Because I know you have, every once in a while you've been good for a couple of New England ones this year.
Yeah, no, I stayed away from New England because I do think it's going to be a sloppy game, so it's going to be tough to call.
All right, let's move on and get Williams' final pick then here for week number 10. A team with a new quarterback, I guess, but I have a feeling that this doesn't really factor into your thoughts.
Yeah, by the way, Love Boat deleted scenes, something that I did not think was come up on this pod tonight. That's fantastic.
Listen, sometimes you forget that Mr. King has been all around this great world doing all types of wild things.
Now everybody needs to go check that out. Yeah. Man, I'm going Carolina plus 10.5 here. I don't care who the quarterback is. The main thought of this pick here is regression is coming to this Arizona defense. Let me give you these stats here. Fumble regression is coming. And that may sound like weird. That may not sound like a real thing, but the Cards lead the NFL in fumble recoveries. They've lost 2 of 16 fumbles. So they've fumbled 16 times. They've only lost 2 of them. And the Cards have recovered 10 of 16 fumbles. The Cards' opponents are losing 1.1 fumbles per game. That's the most in the league. The Cards' rush D allowing 4.8 yards per rush. That's second worst in the NFL. They're getting out to these early leads, and it's getting positive game script for them because everybody's fumbling against them in the first quarter. So there's regression coming, and then there's regression.
Hey, I don't know who this fumble regression you're talking about is, but I saw fumble aggression at the Gasworks 2 Fridays ago, and they killed.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about more regression. There's 4th down regression coming for the Cards offense. They're 8 of 9 on 4th downs this year. That's 89%. They can't keep that up. The Cards' opponents are only 6 of 20 this year on 4th downs. That's 30%. That defense can't keep that up. Cards D, 23rd on early downs, 22nd on rush success rate on 3rd downs. There is a ton of regression coming for this Arizona D. Robert Alford and Byron Murphy are playing out of their minds. Who are those guys? The 2 corners. I don't see that continuing. And this is a potential letdown spot for the Cards after an impressive road division win last week. And the Panthers are playing for their playoff lives. They'll be focused after that loss to the Pats. We thought that game last week was going to be a low-scoring game, and it was. Rondell Moore is in concussion protocol for Arizona. Budda Baker is in concussion protocol for Arizona. Kyler Murray is still banged up. Give me Carolina, double digits, plus 10.5. We saw a bunch of dogs hit last week. Give me the points, Carolina plus 10.5.
All right. I was hoping we maybe had just a bit of a minor technical glitch there, but it looks as if we have lost everybody. I have lost everyone that has been on the podcast with me. We got Mr. Williams' 3 picks in there. We did not get Mr. King's picks. Unfortunately, I will vamp here for just a couple of minutes and see if anybody can join me back into the room. But my upset pick for this week, I teased it earlier. It comes out of the Tennessee-New Orleans game. I was just joking with Mr. Williams about his fumble regression stat. I believe Tennessee is going to regress. Okay, the Titans are riding high. They have won a couple of absolutely humongous games. Dr. Emmett Brown is not on that staff. They do not have plutonium. They will not be able to go back in time to 2014 where Adrian Peterson will be relevant. I like the Tennessee Titans to lose to the New Orleans Saints. Give me Sean Payton. I like something in the water down there in New Orleans. Payton just seems to have that team playing above their heads. That's this week's upset pick of the week. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I suppose we got as far as we needed to get. You got Williams' picks. We had our special guest, Corey Nance. We had Chris King on. Till next time, next week, week 11, I'm Rod Morgan saying goodbye from Balls and Brew.
Goodbye, Internet.